just staring at the White House, right? The big American flag and the little beautiful building. It's like, I cannot believe this. Threw my suit on without my tie. And went to that gate. No, it's that one and this, and you're on this list. And there's so many rings of security to actually get there. And I'm walking. I get to the one gate, and there's the Luttrell brothers. Welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast, powered by the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. And folks, I'm still what's the term? Walking on cloud nine or something like that. The past week and a half have just been ineffable, right? I had to learn that SAT word. Probably wish I knew it for the SATs, but I can't put into words the past week and a half. But I'm going to try. Let me lead with some gratitude. I am grateful to God. I am grateful for my suffering. I'm grateful for you all. If you're listening to this podcast or you've supported the No Fallen Heroes Foundation or recently Sacred Order Fellowship, you've sponsored our mission to heal our heroes at home. I want to say thank you because you have been a critical part of this mission. And that mission culminated over 5 years for me, but that mission culminated at 0900 Saturday morning in the Oval Office, where I was with the President of the United States of America. There was no way in hell you could have told me 5 years ago that I would be in the Oval Office with the President of the United States, and a President of the United States saying the words psychedelics, and not in a war on drugs or we got to stomp this out and arrest people. Saying the word psychedelics and the word ibogaine. I can't even, it's just, got my T-shirt on. I'll start in the middle of this. So, middle of last week, my phone blew up and I saw it on the news. Like, hey, I think it was CBS initially I saw, and other outlets picked it up. We're hearing the president might, issue an executive order on psychedelics. Maybe even this week. It was like Wednesday or Thursday. I'm like, well, maybe this week it's Thursday. I grabbed my phone. I shot Eric Trump a text. I'm like, hey, man, I don't know if you've seen this or, and I sent a link to the article. Don't know if our flight together or our conversation or you talking to your dad had anything to do with it. But, hey, it would be cool if I, could make it there for whenever the signing is. And didn't get an answer right away. And then I was like, man, that would be fantastic. I wonder if it's a rumor, right? Because months ago, when was it? 6 months ago, the president announced, I want to reschedule cannabis, immediately reschedule it. Attorney General Bondi didn't hear a word. This morning, before I did a Newsmax hit or News Nation, whatever it was, for Iran and what's going on, breaking news, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche rescheduled it. Cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And one of the reasons he did that was because of what happened Saturday morning. But hey, breaking news, he might sign something. I'm like, okay, well, he said that about cannabis and somebody's slow walking the cannabis thing, so maybe this executive order. But I was just so thankful. I'm like, even if this is a rumor and it's not true, the fact that it's out there in the zeitgeist that the president might, know about this or be moving on it made my heart smile. I was so proud. I was so happy. Friday after the market closed, I'm decompressing for the week. I'm just like, man, why? Because Sunday, the 5 days before, I just got back from Harvard Divinity School. Yeah, I know. Let's all laugh. I was at a 2-day conference at the Harvard Divinity School on religion and psychedelics. Stood in the chapel where Ralph Waldo Emerson gave his famous Divinity School address. You got to look that up. So Harvard Divinity School, I think there's only 2 or 3 other veterans there out of 400 people, woefully underrepresented at that Harvard Divinity School event. Harvard Divinity School, folks, if you're listening for next year. But it's all good. I trust God's plan. The fact that I was standing in the Harvard Divinity School chapel where Emerson gave that address was so powerful because that helped start Sacred Warrior Fellowship. Go listen to that Sacred Warrior Fellowship podcast or watch it on our YouTube channel. I give a more of an in-depth debrief in there. Just to give you a heads up, we're putting that wall up between No Fallen Heroes Foundation, 501c3, should be technically secular. It doesn't have to be secular, but it doesn't say in our 501c3 application that we're a religious, Sacred Warrior Fellowship is 508C1A, whatever, all the alphabet stuff. So I actually did a podcast on that side of the fence, debriefing everything at Harvard Divinity School. So go check out Sacred Warrior Fellowship's podcast on YouTube, or it's called Return Home, the Return Home podcast. So why am I bringing this up? Because, and it was a weekend. It was like Friday, Saturday was the conference. I got home Sunday, and then boom, right into the trading week. But so Friday, market closes at 4. I'm on the couch, 5-ish, like decompressing from a long week. The week before that, we were out in Breck with Easter with Jack and Keeley. And so it's been full. I've been cruising. Before that, we were out in Colorado with Flying Eric Trump. And so I just wanted to take a deep breath. I was just like, I'm tired. I'm tired, God. Can I recharge my batteries? 1 potato, 2 potato, 3, phone rings. It's the White House. Hi, Whiz, are you in D.C.? I'm like, no, I'm in Boca Raton. Well, the president is signing the executive order tomorrow morning on psychedelics and ibogaine. And the ceremony's at 9. It'd be great if you could make it. I said, I'll start walking, man. I was going to go jump in my car and start driving if I had to. I immediately looked it up. I'm like, maybe I can catch a flight. If not, I'll drive. 15 hours, whatever it was. I'm like, I will be there. Thank God, JetBlue. Susie and I jumped through our ass. Where's my suit? Where it is? I forgot my tie. Hey, throw it in an overnight bag. JetBlue flight, 8 o'clock. Got to the airport. Landed in D.C. at 11:30, whenever it was. Got to the hotel. I was in the Uber. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And I'm like, you know what? Text Raisin. Dan Kane, General Raisin Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I've known Raisin for over 2 decades. I'm like, it's late, first of all, and I forgot. More on that in a little bit. I didn't text him. The next morning. But folks, Susie got me a room at the St. Regis, right down the street from the, literally right down the street from the White House. I slept. I tried to sleep. I was up. I was up early. It was beautiful, though. Beautiful day, Saturday morning. At dawn, as the sun came up, and right, just staring at the White House, right, the big American flag and the little beautiful building. It's like I cannot believe this. Threw my suit on without my tie, and went to that gate. No, it's that one and this, and you're on this list. And there's so many rings of security to actually Get there, and I'm walking. I get to the one gate, and there's the Luttrell brothers. There's Marcus, my original medicine brother. Now it's a party. What's up? Oh, man, I didn't know you were coming, Whiz. Now it's a party. It made my heart smile. I'm like, can you believe this, my brother? We are almost at our 5-year anniversary. May 20th is our 5-year anniversary. He's like, can you believe that? Morgan was there. I met Rob O'Neill for the first time. Navy SEAL, shot Bin Laden, didn't shoot Bin Laden. Doesn't matter. He was on the raid. Rob O'Neill. Marcus and Amber Capone were there. It was great to see them again. Very surreal. Very surreal. Now, so they were all like pre-scheduled, right? Like a couple days before, hey, grab Whiz type of thing. So they went in this entrance, and I was actually with the press. So thank you, Father, for the way this all worked out, right? Why? Because so the press corps is, what a weird group of people. Like, it's interesting to see them without the camera on. I won't name names, but they're all like in this little gaggle with their camera person and sound person, and they're in a scrum, right? Because as soon as the door opens, they want to be the first one into the Oval Office to, like, be right in front of the desk and have their mic in his face. And so I had this press pass on. But as they were waiting at the door for the door to open and the scrum to file into the Oval Office, they're all kind of looking at their phones, and maybe a couple of them are chatting. So I know none of them are me or veteran. So I'm like, do you all know why you're here this morning? And it's funny because I found out afterwards that they didn't tell the press. They're like, it's a surprise announcement in the Oval Office. And they all, Iran or this or all sorts of stuff like that. And they said there would be a special guest. Turns out there was a couple special guests. So all the press turned around, were like, no. And I gave him Whiz, baby. I gave him a 3-minute, well, here's what the president's going to do. He's going to sign this on Ibogaine. Here's what, I laid it on them. I said, Marcus Luttrell's going to be in there. We went to Mexico 5 years. And they're like, what? So you should have seen the looks on their faces. They're like, wait, okay. So first of all, this is a surprise. So it's not Iran or, whatever. It's about psychedelics. So you could sense the shift, but the shift got cooler because I laid it on them, and they're like, whoa. And so it was cool. The pre-gaggle. And then doors open, and then, you meander through the press room and through, it's so funny, man. It's like, first of all, it's like compact, but it's also a home, and you're walking through these spaces, and whatever room before you get into the Oval Office, beautiful room, historic. I've seen it, and TV, and kings and queens in there, and ministers, and then into the Oval Office. It's an office. I mean, it's beautiful and ornate, but it's not. When you see it on TV, it looks huge. There's the couches, there's the big president's desk, and there he is right there. I'm telling you, man, I floated into the Oval Office. I'm like, I can't believe I'm here right now. And Georgia, the lady, the White House executive assistant, whoever it is, like kind of moved some reporters out of the way to the right. So I was to the president's left, all the way to the right. She's like, come here, Whiz, like, you stand here. So I was like right there, but they had the Navy SEALs, God bless them, my brothers. And then on the left was, kind of some of the booger eaters. Joe Rogan right behind him. And Brian Hubbard. So Rogan, Hubbard, and then RFK Jr., then Marty McCary from FDA commissioner, then Sanjay, the NIH director, 2 old ladies in lab coats who were researchers, and then Dr. Oz, whatever. It's just, and there's the president sitting right there. I'm a couple of feet away from the president. And wow. What a moment. Never in my entire life thought I'd be in the White House, in the Oval Office, with the president. Never thought in this mission that he'd be saying the words psychedelics. Did you? Hopefully you've watched this clip. If not, stop this. Go watch the entire executive order. It's so funny. So we are here to talk because I'm going to take action in ibogaine. Ibogaine? Am I saying it right? I want to say it right. Ibogaine. Ibogaine. Like, holy crap, what a moment. As he read the notes, right, in his binder, talking about the Stanford study, he's like, wow, 80, what? He's like reading it a little dry at first. And as he read it, clearly he didn't read it before, he's like, 85% of these Navy SEALs were healed? He's like, what? Can I get some? The whole place laughed. The whole place was laughing. If you heard, there was a big yeah. I said, yeah, I was the yeah guy. And he looked at, it was either the FDA commissioner or the NIH or whoever, or Kennedy. And he's like, how effective are SSRIs? And they're like, single digits, Mr. President. And he's like, this stuff, this ibogaine is, 80 or better than that? Yeah. What are we doing? It's so funny because one of the reporters was like, well, how come you didn't do this during your first term? He's like, just heard of it. This is recent to me in the past 6 months, year. And when I heard, I've taken action. So let me, the signing, I'll talk through some more of the things that he said after it was over. Like I said, I was with the press group over here, so they kind of, I met Cheryl Hines, RFK Jr.'s wife, nicest lady. She's as big as a minute. I gave her foundation coin. I said, hey, because I tried to talk to her husband. He was all busy. I tried Joe Rogan. So it was just so happy and smiling and stuff like that. But I ended up in the press gaggle, and they all went out and they wanted to talk to me and stuff like that. So I didn't get the formal behind the president picture. Don't care about any of it. The, not being on, who cares? Who cares? I was stunned. I wasn't even in the room. But let's talk about the bad. What's bad? Exactly. Michael Pollan, who wrote How to Change Your Mind. I read that book cover to cover, highlighter. It's got sand in it from the beach. I watched the Netflix special series, How to Change Your Mind. I strongly recommend it. What a limousine liberal. These people who should be celebrating, what did he say? He's like, oh my God, what a horrific, the president he stoops so low to, he just wanted Joe Rogan back in, on his side. Can you believe how ridiculous, whatever his exact quote was, it's maddening to me. You guys know me under Joe effing Biden for 3 years when I went to D.C., not a word. Or they did say words, and that's all they did. Oh, yeah, we're Democrats. We love psychedelics. We wear mala beads, drug rugs, hippies, peace, no war. Wrong. They're in bed with Big Pharma, and they're pro-war. Look at Ukraine. Can't throw enough money at Ukraine. Can we rid radical Islamic terrorists of nukes? How dare you? Anyway, because the president acts. I'm not going to take credit for this, but you guys know that Eric Trump was my hostage for about 4 hours. Briefed him to go flying in the plane. It was me and him in the plane for an hour and a half. We landed at Eagle. I parked next to Trump Force One. We're up on his jet sitting there talking. I briefed him ad nauseum on this. And he could not have been more supportive. I was on Lara Trump. I was up in Boston at the Harvard Divinity School conference when Lara Trump's show came on at 9 o'clock, and I watched her at the hangar with me as we talked about the Easter rescue. So Lara Trump, Eric Trump, fully briefed on psychedelics for veterans and the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. Eric Trump, first of all, nicest guy in the world, man. Just a good, like a solid dude. I don't think he's a liar because he said He's like, Whiz, I talk to my dad 3 times a day. My dad's like the best. Isn't that awesome? You know, the Biden family had a lot of struggles, and obviously Beau, the oldest one, dying of, I believe, cancer, served his country as a JAG. You know, a little bit of a stray sheep with Hunter. And I get it. The father, Joe, wanted to protect his son and do all you can. You want to try and take his pain away and everything like that. Why am I rambling about this? Because Donald Trump, love him or hate him, and if you hate him, maybe you need ibogaine. You know, just seems like a good. He raised his kids because this guy is a nice dude. He's like, Whiz, I talk to my dad, you know, a couple times a day. He's like, after we land, I'm briefing him on this flight, and I'm going to brief him on your mission. And I said, Eric, if you can use, here's your sentence. Your dad probably just, I'm going to assume based on his public comments, ain't too big on Mexico. Can you tell your dad that Navy SEALs, fighter pilots, special forces, veterans are sneaking into Mexico to heal trauma they incurred serving this one? I think your dad would flip the hell out. He's like, that's a great, I'm stealing that, Whiz. I don't know if any of that happened. He said he talks to his dad 3 times a day. He just flew in our fighter jet. Next time he talked to his dad, I hope he told him he flew in a fighter jet and maybe added, so this happened weeks ago. So these liberals, and remember, folks, Joe Rogan is a fucking Democrat. He's a he voted for Bernie Sanders, folks. Enough with the Rogan and Trump thing. Donald Trump was a Democrat for his entire life until he ran for president in 2016. You see the pictures of him at like the NAACP awards with Jesse Jackson. Hey, you got the Good Guy of the Year award. When he ran for president as a Republican, they all turned around and hated him. That's right. So enough with the fucking politics. But here's what I'm ranting about. I found it. Michael Pollan. That this order was at least in part an attempt to bring Joe Rogan back into the Trump tent is, to me, the headline. There is no level to which this president will not sink. So, let me. I'm going to read what I wrote. Michael Pollan, you're insufferable. Joe Rogan simply shined a spotlight on the work that veterans like me and No Fallen Heroes have been doing for over 5 years. Maybe you should sit with ibogaine to help your TDS. Can you give the politics a rest just for a little bit during this historic moment? Is that possible? Because Joe wrote, the president's like, I got a text from Joe, or UFC fighter, last week, and he's like, hey, Mr. President, you should look into this. It's helping veterans. It really does. It works. Let's go. Let's sign an executive order. Let's try and reschedule it. People are fucking bent over backwards that happened at all. That's the only reason the president acted was Joe Rogan and politics. My God, you people need help. Joe Rogan has never sat with ibogaine, folks. Do you not know that? The only reason Joe Rogan is in this conversation is because he shined a spotlight on us. Hell, Governor Rick Perry, Republican, was an Air Force pilot. Brian Hubbard went on Rogan's podcast. Sean Ryan, Dakota Meyer, Medal of Honor recipient, Marcus Luttrell. So all these special forces guys and Governor Perry went on Rogan and talked about ibogaine. I'm still waiting for you to call, Joe. I think you got a little love fest with the ground guys and the SEALs. Maybe talk to an aviator too. But that's all right, man. I trust God's plan. I don't need to be honest with you, but he shined a light on it. Hasn't done ibogaine. Has been talking to veterans for years about it and dropped it to the president. How about maybe, just maybe, the president talked to his son and was blown away that, how'd you fly in a fighter jet? Was it Air Force or Navy? No, this dude owns it. His foundation owns it. It's the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. They do psychedelics in Mexico, Dad, because you can't do it here. Why can't you do it here? That seems stupid. Maybe that happened. Don't know. Maybe it happened. And then, however many weeks later, Joe Rogan hits him up with it. And he goes, wow, that's really? Okay. That's why when the Run reporter asks, like, well, why didn't this happen before under your first term? He's like, I've just heard about it recently and I acted. How about we celebrate that? How about we celebrate a president who acts? He's a businessman. Joe Biden, almost as long as I've been alive, he's been in D.C., was in D.C. It's a swamp. It's a process. Well, you have to go to this department, go down there. We'll talk. It'll be in committee. A year and a half from now, no. Donald Trump is a businessman. Get it done. This can help people. Look into it and stuff like that. But it was awesome. Bhattacharya, whatever his name is at the NIH, standing next to the two ladies in the lab coats. He was, he was smiling, but he was also laying down the research stuff. Research. Love or hate Donald Trump. I loved him in this moment when he kind of looked at the guy, kind of gave him that booger eater look. Like, he looked at him, he's like, research. And then he looked over his left shoulder. It's like, hey, fellas, did this work? All of us. Yeah, yes, sir. It saved and changed my life. All right. Enough with the research. Man, I was I had tears in my eyes for most of the time I was in the Oval Office. Do you know how many times I said that? Go to a medicine woman in the Amazon and ask her about her phase 3 trials. She'll be like, well, excuse me? Go to Gabon. Go to the Musuko tribe. Sit with Iboga and ask the guy how his phase 1 results were. Are you insane? The ego we have in the West. We just found ibogaine. Let's study it for the next 30 years. Guess what? And hopefully she's coming up from Miami next week for an in-person interview. Dr. Deborah Mash at Demerex has been studying ibogaine for 30 years. She just announced yesterday we got an IND for Demerex to use noribogaine for AUD, alcohol use disorder. We are cooking. But the president, it was awesome. Why can't we attack in parallel? You booger eaters in the lab coats, you research. Fellas, let's get you some help. Why can't you attack in parallel? We haven't been attacking in parallel. We've been healing people. As the lab coats have said, well, we can't do anything. It's a Schedule 1. Oh, a Schedule 1 drug, right? No therapeutic use and a high risk of addiction. Tobacco, cigarettes, alcohol? Yeah. No therapeutic. So ibogaine is anti-addictive, destroyed alcohol in my life, and it was the most therapeutic thing I've ever done in my life. So if you have a problem with the president taking bold action, you're the problem. I swear, I pray for you. Old me would be ranting harder than I am right now, but new me's like, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? That sounded like Sebastian Maniscalco. What's wrong with? Aren't you embarrassed? Ladies and gentlemen, if Joe Biden had done this, you would be celebrating in the streets for his bold action. Donald Trump, you'd complain it's not hot enough in hell. Enough. Let the ink dry on this historic first move where we celebrate and we're all one, and then go back to be a fucking hyper-partisan. I can't stand it. Enough with the politics. Even Jon Stewart's like, the president did a solid, psychedelics, veterans, solid. And then at the end of it, his giving the president solid ripped him apart again. So thank you, Jon Stewart, for being less of a twat than you usually are. Folks, if Joe Biden had done this, folks, I would have given him props. He didn't, and he had every opportunity. His FDA commissioner and FDA denied MDMA. Do you not remember that? Because most people on the FDA AdCom advisory committee had ties to Big Pharma. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump hates Big Pharma. Do you not see him take a flamethrower to prescription drug prices and this? He's ripping apart the pharma and the healthcare industry in this country. They don't like it. Democrats are in bed with all of that. If you like your doctor, you can keep it, Obama. So when the president takes bold action, celebrate it, man. And again, we're days after this. I'm still on cloud nine, and I'm seeing people like, where were the indigenous people in the room? The pharmaceutical companies are going to take this over and make it impossible, and they're already frothing at the mouth. I'm like, man, let me remind you for the millionth time, healing is free. You can grow your own mushrooms. Desert Sonoran toad. Go to New Mexico, Arizona, northern Mexico. Peyote, mescaline, San Pedro, Iboga, Central and West Africa. You can go get your own Iboga. It's free. So, ladies and gentlemen, stop with the shooting darts, man. My God, I can't even. It's exhausting being me pointing out this stupidity and this hypocrisy. I can't even imagine being those people. It's so funny to watch these people twist themselves into pretzels. Like, I can't believe Donald Trump. Donald Trump did this. Psychedelics on Saturday, and this morning, rescheduled cannabis. The attorney general. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. He looked over to his left. Who was Todd Blanche in there? I don't remember if the acting attorney general was in there, but he looked at somebody and gave him a stink eye when he's like, I don't, they're slow. I think he was kind of talking to RFK Jr. too, like giving him he said, they're slow walking me on cannabis. I wanted it done and I don't know what's going on. 4 days later, Mr. President, I'm signing it. Pam Bondi didn't. So, seeing these people in their pretzel positions when Trump reschedules cannabis, and at least it's the starter pistol. He didn't reschedule ibogaine. He allowed the go for research, man. And Marty Makary, the FDA commissioner, stood up there. He's like, we have 3 applications waiting on our desk. Monday morning, we're acting on them. Wow. Man, if you've been a long-time listener of this podcast or viewer, first of all, I'm sorry, but we've been on this together. This studio's grown and it's cooler looking now, but man, do you remember? Do you remember where we came from? Literally. I put that on my post on Instagram, man, the picture of the 5 unusuals. Marcus, me, Robert Gallery, JJ, and JT, right? JT, Jared Taylor from Black Rifle Coffee. There's no way in hell. I don't think even if the sacrament, the medicine, if ibogaine had showed me as a vision, like, you're going to be in the White House in 5 years on this, I've been like, yeah. This is the power of, first of all, it's always God. Everything is the Father, is God. That's the power of God's plan. Walk, and the path will appear. Knock, it'll be open to you. Ask, and you shall receive. There's been some horrible lows in the past 5 years. There's been some incredible highs. I am as equally grateful for the lows as I am the highs. But all the lows in the past 5 years, folks, was not rejection. It was redirection. And in hindsight, that's usually where you get the clarity of those things. When you're in it, you're like, man, what are you doing, God? This sucks. As time goes on, I get it. Man, I wish I had this awesome knowledge when I was younger. I'm pretty sure my dad told me all this, but, not until you get in those shoes do you really start going, okay, yeah. Man, those adults were right about some things. So absolutely humbled, honored to have been there for this event. It was all the ground guys. It was weird. Governor Perry wasn't there. I don't know if he and the president have had a falling out. He ran for president against Trump, but Trump made him his energy secretary in the first term. He wasn't there, and then the VA secretary wasn't there. Have to give a shout out to Secretary Collins. He, I think he might have been one of the main reasons I got that phone call, or Eric Trump. Oh, so let's talk about the after, right? Leaving the Oval Office, I went and sat in the press room for a while just to take it all in. They were done for the day, like the president's, schedule was clear. So I hung out, man. I went up to the press podium where the president stands, or the press secretary, and got some pictures, of course, and talked to some of the reporters. Were all asking me questions, and so I took it all in. And then I just kind of left. Walked kind of up this path towards the front of the office. There's snipers on the roof kind of looking at me. I'm like, I got my badge. Everything's cool. Nobody's like tackling me. I'm just like, I had tears in my eyes. I had a lot of tears in my eyes. That morning that I woke up, took my microdose, got my meditation on, and very powerful. Sunday, the next day, it was my dad's birthday. And I just felt so connected to my dad, to my sister, to my God, to this mission, to you. Just so powerful. I can't even tell you. But I had an 7, whatever o'clock flight back. So I went and sat in the lobby of the St. Regis, and man, of course, my phone was blowing up. It was so funny because my phone was blowing up with like, "Hey, Whiz, did you see this?" And everybody's sending me links to the press conference, and I wasn't responding to be like, "Ha." I sent it. I'm like, I was there. People are like, "What? No way." I sent it to Raisin, to General Kane. He's like, "Whiz, man, why didn't you text me?" He's like, "I was downstairs. I was below you in the situation room." He's like, "I would have come upstairs." I'm like, "Some bitch." I was like, "Seriously?" He's like, "Oh, man." I'm like, that would have been epic. Me and Raisin in the Oval Office together. That would have been a 23 year ago, like, fellas. Because one of my brothers, scammer. Skoda. Flew Hornets with Scammer. Hopped in a T6 Texan. The guy who owned the T6, it's a warbird. He flew down from whatever in Texas to go see his son, Chase, at Naval Air Station Kingsville, where he was going through jet training. Scammer hung out with his son, had some time. Maybe they went to lunch. They took off in the Texan, got to up 300-400 feet, and it rolled over and crashed. Hundreds of feet away from his son, who watched the whole thing. His son was the first person at the scene of that crash. Talk about horror. Man. My brother Scammer's on this podcast right now with us. I know it. But Scammer and I, why do I bring Scammer up? First of all, I miss him. He's a critical part of this. But I'll never forget, Raisin called us in whenever it was, 2001, 2. He said, "Hey, I got an interview to be a White House fellow. Can you guys be my red team, my interviewers?" I met him hotel in Dallas, and yeah, we ripped him apart. We interviewed him, and he got it. And that's kind of when he started his trajectory, White House fellowship, and then as fate would have it, President Trump Raisin in Afghanistan, and he said, Raisin's right out of Central Casting, fighter pilot, square jaw, great call sign, Raisin Kane. And I said, Raisin, what do you need to take out these terrorists? He's like, Mr. President, you give me this bomb, you give me this, and allow me to do this. I could do some good things. Well, Raisin, why aren't you doing it? And he looks at the other generals behind him who are kind of giving him the dirty look, like you shouldn't be saying that. And I told him, Raisin, you do it. And a week later, that mountain was gone, and a bunch of 100 ISIS bad guys or whatever gone. Love Raisin. Wow. I'll never forget when the president was doing that on TV. Susie and I were looking at each other like, oh, my God, he's talking about Raisin Kane. So that's how Raisin got into the president's mind. Anyway, that sucked. It didn't suck. I apologize, God. I loved being there. But he's like, dude, I was underneath you down in the Situation Room, running Operation Epic Fury. Talk about multitasking. Joe Biden would have been in bed at noon. The President Trump's sitting there smiling in executive order on Ibogaine and veterans and Joe Rogan, and there's Navy SEALs. After we left, he probably went out of the Oval Office, down the elevator or whatever, to the Situation Room with Raisin. Talk about multitasking. And I remind people, we're here, man. After Joe Biden's surrender and horrendous withdrawal from Afghanistan, I was like, okay, let's take a break. No more war. Let's finish healing the veterans that we have, and maybe no fallen heroes can go away. Boom. Operation Absolute Resolve in Venezuela. Operation Midnight Hammer in Iran the first time. Epic Fury. What's the Houthi operation? Rough Rider operation, something. So we've been in some sustained combat operations for the past year and a half. So, and most of the 300 or so casualties we've incurred. I was about to say thank God. Well, I guess thank God. Only 13 deaths, but each one of those is a horror and a soul and a devastated family. So let's never Jesus. What I'm getting at is the other casualties, a lot of them have been traumatic brain injuries. Guess what? It's on my shirt, man. Ibogaine. And I just want everybody to know, if you're watching this on YouTube, I swear I do laundry. I usually don't. My wife does it, which is awesome. But I know how to work that stuff. But this shirt does, it's white, but I got it in Mexico. Marcus Capone gave us, so we all laughed. We're like, I went to Mexico and all I got was this T-shirt. Well, not really. I went to Mexico and I got this T-shirt with the Ibogaine on it, but it saved and changed my life. So I got more than just a T-shirt. Got the T-shirt, was our running joke, but it's a little faded after 5 years of use. Maybe I can retire it. Maybe I'll make a new one. So that was a little bit of the bad. Let me continue with a little bit of the bad, and then we always end on a high note. What's a little bit more of the bad? When I went to a place in Mexico 5 years ago, it was $3,500. That's a shit ton of money for just about anybody. That same place, $10,000 price increase. There are Gucci, Ibogaine places in Mexico, Costa Rica. It's bad enough when Rogan started talking about this. It's bad enough the New York Times was talking about this. It's bad enough that, once this started clipping a year to two ago, those clinics started price gouging. Now, I am a businessman, and I run a nonprofit, so I'm going to wear two hats. As a businessman, good on you. I can't even pretend to act like that, but I'm going to try. It's a business. They are a for-profit entity, Whiz. Yeah, demand, supply. Add in a back rub, and we'll charge even more money. I can't even act. Because I can't, but I put on my nonprofit hat, or I put on my human hat, like, that's fucking awful. And it's interesting because, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I saw, you were at the White House, and that's got to be great for the foundation. No, it is not. Yes, it is, but no, it is not. Same thing with flying Eric Trump. Same thing with all these media appearances, folks. It's got to be good. It isn't. It is, but it isn't. What's the it is first? It is because my phone blows up. And so raising awareness of this mission and that healing is possible, that's the win. However, what's the bad? Susie will be like, another 20, 30 applications today. We haven't seen, except for some random Top Gun Options members who, hey, Whiz, nice trade, man. I'm going to throw a little over the fence to the nonprofit. Folks, I suck at asking people for money, unless it's for Top Gun Options and like, I'll show you how to make money. When I beg people for money to help save the life of a veteran, not a dime. So the good and the bad of this is, the good is that more veterans are finding out about this. The bad is that we have no money. And Susie, shows me these emails. God love my beautiful bride, man. She does the ops and intake and stuff. I can't. She has to deal. She deals. There isn't a single application that I've read that doesn't make you tear up. The messages I get on Instagram, the young men and women that are hurting, not only veterans but first responders and their family members, will cause you to tear up. It's a lot, man. I got to be honest with you. God, I was about to say God if you're listening. I'm pretty sure he is. I need help. I've been sprinting for a long time, and a Friday afternoon at 4:50 when I was like, man, maybe I'm just going to take the weekend off. Turn the phone off. Turn the computers off. I need to recharge. Hi, can you come to the White House tomorrow morning? Fucking let's go. But getting this influx of applicants hurts. And here's a couple reasons it hurts. First of all, the people, when they submit their application, what do they think? Well, when's the next retreat? When can I go? Dude, you're like number 352. So some people, and I have to extend grace and compassion and empathy, man. But sometimes I get a little like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Christ. Well, and then, and then a lot of the applications are like, when am I doing the ibogaine, or how do I get the ibogaine? Folks, let me be clear about No Fallen Heroes right now. We don't have the money. And most of these places, they're like, well, Whiz, we'll give you the veteran discount, $7,500. Are you fucking kidding me? For $7,500, I could do a retreat with psilocybin and heal 10. I hate talking like this, but what would you do? So these people that are writing like, ibogaine, now let me know when I can go and do ibogaine. Yeah, that would be fantastic. You got the money? We don't. So that's the potential bad of this. And I will, as the ink is drying, the people throwing spears about, great, now Big Pharma, and they're going to price gouge and everything like that. I'm like, you clearly have been paying attention to the space because they're price gouging already. Now, some of these clinics have reached out and said, Whiz, we can give some grants or full grants or stuff like that. I'm like, okay, great. But again, they're businesses, man. And they are charging the civilians. Hell, one of the places is $20,000 or something like that, or $30,000. But contrast that. A friend of ours went to what's the name of the place in California, whatever it was, for like a month. It was $100,000 for a month out in Malibu or something like that. And it didn't work. The guy's still drinking. How about you pay 10 or 20? I'll save you 80% of that the next time you relapse, man. And it ain't a month. That's one. You want to short? Let's talk about investing. You want to short an industry right now? You short the addiction centers and those things. It's over with. So for all the folks who just found No Fallen Heroes, And my brother Justin Lepre at the Illuminating Collective in Texas, he uses ibogaine as a sacrament. God bless you, my brother, for doing this. A lot of infrastructure required. EKGs, pre-screening, heart monitors, a magnesium drip, like the Stanford researchers found out. But it's not inexpensive. I think the lowest I've seen, even to cover costs now, is like $7,500 or something like that. So, but Justin also has a good SOP. There's exceptions and everything like that, but one of his requirements is you had to have sat with psilocybin before you can sit with ibogaine. Why? And it's a great thing. So, folks, I'm truly grateful, but I'm truly wish something else would have happened. I shouldn't be saying this because that didn't happen, and this is the way God wants it. I get it, but why are we leading with ibogaine, with the heart issues and the this and the that? Psilocybin, none of those issues. 5-MeO-DMT, none of those issues. Mescaline, you name it, folks. The only iboga. Wait, I thought ibogaine comes from iboga. It does, but when you isolate just that alkaloid out of the iboga root bark, it turns into a little bit of a nuke weapon. And if you're not whatever, it can give you a little bit of arrhythmia or whatever it's called. So the full root bark, folks, iboga, with all the alkaloids in it, doesn't give you those cardio issues. Why aren't we leading with those? I pray to God we're not setting ourselves up like this was like an ambush. Like somebody's like, let's lead with ibogaine so it fails. It's like a high benchmark. It'll be $100,000. You know, you need the Malibu place just turned into an ibogaine clinic, and it's back to being $100,000. I pray this doesn't happen. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, I'm going to remind you, healing is free. God put these compounds on this planet for us to heal, to reconnect with him for free. And always remember, nobody can heal you. Even though I just said that, I said that because only you and God can heal you. I can't do it. A retreat can't do it. What happens on a retreat might be able to do it. You have to do it. I learned that sitting with iboga. When I told God after a year and a half of this foundation, I'm failing, I'm trying, I'm this, and I brought him all of my failures, my pain. I am failing you, Father. I'm trying to help as many people as I can, and it's not working. And I'll never forget when he said, Matthew, he's so loving. Like, that's shocking to me. He's so loving and kind, sense of humor. He's like, son, you can't heal anybody. I'm like, what? He's like, I can. But they have to want to heal. And then I have them. Keep doing what you're doing. He gave us free will, folks. You have to choose to want to heal and reconnect with him. He's not going to force you. That's not love. That makes no sense. It makes perfect sense. God is not bored. God did not create a bunch of robots to bow to him 24/7. You're the best. Thank you. You're the best. That's not genuine. You know what? I'm going to give these beautiful things I create, these humans, free will. I'm going to let them decide between love and hate, happiness and sadness. I'm going to let them have a infinitely short experience before they come back to me. Let's see what they choose. Now, God knew you before you were in the womb. Can I say that, or are we still in the men can have babies thing? It still would be a womb. But he knew you. He's known you. He knows everything. Knew you. Why am I bringing this up? Because he knows all of your choices. Even though you, quote, have free will, the book is written. Your present moment is an individual page right now. The date of your transition from this earthly body is already known, and the manner too. Shouldn't that make you sit up straight and be like, you know what, man, I should love a little bit more. I should smile a little bit more. I should be kinder to my fellow man and woman, because I don't know when the book ends. Wait until you see the movie after the book ends, folks. I've seen it. It's just fabulous. So, where did that rant come from? I lost my train of thought, but if you can't tell, if you're a regular listener, viewer of this podcast, don't touch the mic. Again, I'm sorry, but hopefully you notice that this is it's the end of the beginning. There is so much work to do. I'm going to give you my realist thing, and then we're going to end on a high note. My realist is Ibogaine. Am I saying it right? Ibogaine. Joe's a liberal. Isn't that funny? Did I mention that? Joe Rogan standing right behind the president. He's tiny. He almost couldn't see over the president's chair. President's a big dude. Joe Rogan's tiny. He's talking about him like he's not even there. So Joe texted me. He said, well, Joe's a liberal, a little too liberal for me, but, Joe, a little liberal. Joe Rogan's sitting there with a smile on his face, like shaking his head. He's funny. The president, I don't know about being in person. It makes it kind of funnier because you can feel the atmosphere and stuff like that. And I can tell when, it's just when you see it on TV, the delivery might be off, but there was a lot of humor going on in there. It was pretty funny. And a lot of seriousness. Brian Hubbard, he stole one of my lines, man. Mr. President, we've had to go to another country to heal trauma for these veterans that they incurred serving this one. I'm like, that's my line. So I hope I'm wrong with this prediction. There's no way. I think I told you this after I was at Harvard Law School in the fall in November. I sat with a lady from the NIH, FDA lady, I think. She's like, Whiz, Ibogaine, not in my lifetime will Ibogaine get FDA approval based on all the issues it has. So, I don't know, pessimist. Let's split the difference. It ain't happening tomorrow. I think it does happen in our lifetime, but the VA, a veteran getting Ibogaine treatment from the VA, 10 years off. An act of God, 5 years off. So I hope we didn't walk into a trap of let's start with the hardest one, really raise the barrier, the cost, it's not a easy process, folks. It's not an inpatient treatment. I'm going to my local VA this afternoon to get some Ibogaine, folks. It's it's a weekend at least type of thing. So does the VA, did we start in the wrong direction? I don't know. We will know in hindsight. We will know, God willing, I'm still doing this years from now, and I look back and go, I was wrong. They got it done. Or I was right. We're still in it. And I really wish, like I said years ago, that they started with psilocybin, but it is what it is, right? So, but let's not deal with that now. Michael Pollan, go. So funny because he's like, Ibogaine's the only one I haven't. Well, maybe you should. Joe Rogan, maybe you should too. All the people, I'm not joking when I say this, and I'm going to remind you, if Donald Trump and Mullah, the Mullah I took out, Mullah Jr., I don't know if he's arrived, he's probably dead, grab the IRG, whoever's in charge in Iran right now, and Donald Trump, and Zelensky, and Putin, retreat. ibogaine retreat. The wars are over with. Oh, that's so funny, Whiz. It's not fucking funny. It's the truth. And unless you've done this, you have no idea what you're talking about. If I could kidnap those 4 people and do an ibogaine retreat, I promise you there would be peace on earth. Maybe that's why up until President Trump Saturday morning, these things have been illegal. The government needs their killing robots. The defense contractors need the MIC, right? Not me, from County Cork, the military industrial complex. Raytheon. I'm bullish on Raytheon. I invest. Guess what, man? This is a paradigm shifting moment. You will remember this. As long as this podcast lives, hopefully my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, my great-great-grandchildren are watching this some point in the future. I love you all. Matthew the 5th, get your finger out of your nose. I hope this results in peace on earth. Isn't it incredible? War and crime and all sorts of bad stuff, and we're all heading downhill as the rise of these plant medicines is climbing. The amount of active law enforcement officers and retired coming to Sacred Warrior Fellowship. We're 100% confidential, man. Our fellowship and people who sit in ceremony with us, you want to tell people, great. If you don't want to tell people, great. But it makes my heart smile. Could you you want to reimagine policing? The Democrats after, the shit show and defund the police and we need to get rid of cops and just send social workers. How about we send healed cops? How about we send cops who aren't on a hair trigger for violence? How about we send cops who aren't on substance abuse and medicating or self-medicating their issues? How about we reimagine policing? I got a message on Instagram from a prisoner, a former prisoner. I don't want to end on this note, so I'll clean it up from here. But before you leave prison or you get on parole, you're sitting with ibogaine or some sort of psychedelic to wash away that. That is not you anymore. You served your debt to society. You are, let's tighten this up. Let me show you who you truly are underneath all of this. God did not make you a criminal. You got free will, might have made some bad choices, but man, let's return home. Let's bring you back home to who you are. So whether it's the president, the mullah, Zelensky, Putin, criminals, law enforcement, everybody could use a smashing of the ego in their life to show you who you truly are. God does not make imperfect things. Underneath all of this shame, regret, depression, drugs, alcohol, sadness is a perfect soul connected to Christ consciousness. Thank God we got to the end of this podcast and I didn't get on a rant about the Pope. But as soon as I said Christ consciousness, I was going to start ranting about the Pope. I won't. Robert Provost, Pope, what's his name? Leo? Buddy, you need to tighten it up too, my friend. The Catholic Church, Democrat politicians, pro-abortion, pro-child genital mutilation, pro-thinking that God can make mistakes, right? Oh, a little, boy born in his body who thinks he's not that day, sure, he can cut his genitals off and become a little girl and pump him full of hormones. Isn't it weird? And, let's, the Biden administration, let's arrest grandmothers in front of abortion clinics that are praying and throw them in prison for 8 years. Not a word. Not a word out of the fucking Catholic Church. Why? It's a money laundering organization. Catholic Charities got billions from the Biden administration to buy their silence. I'm fairly certain page 1 of the Pope manual says, call for peace. It ain't courageous for the Pope to fucking call for peace. That's your job. You know what would have been courageous? Ripping apart pro-abortion Democrats in this country who support child genital mutilation and dudes in women's sports and locker rooms. That would have been courage. Not going to end on that low note, but that explains why I'm also a recovering Catholic man, because love you, Pope. And quick reminder, folks, the Pope ain't more holier than you, or less holier. We're all the same. We are all one with God, Christ consciousness, oneness. We are all one. There is zero chain of command. God is the chain. There ain't no separation, folks. You don't have to kneel in front of a dude on this planet to reconnect or connect with God. There was one dude, and look what we did with him. Let's end on the high note. So, ladies and gentlemen, I could not be more happy, honored, humbled, overjoyed, a little tired. It's been a sprint. It's been a 5-year sprint to this point. I'm pretty sure God's telling me to catch my breath because it's a marathon, Whiz. You shouldn't have sprinted. But thank you, President Trump, for your leadership on this issue, for saying, what? This helps veterans? Why aren't we doing it? Let's press forward and check it out. Thank you for that. Somebody for the past 4 years hadn't done that. So thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership. Thank you for the invite to this signing ceremony. If it gets signed into law during your term here in the next 2.5 years, I'd love to go back, but I'm good. I touched home plate in the Oval Office for that moment, and I'm good. I'm on minute 14 and 59 of this fame, and I think at the end of this podcast, it is minute 15. So thank you, Father, for gracing me with all of this, and I am in your service. Use me. What will you have me do going forward? If you're a veteran, first responder, or family member who needs help, please reach out. We're not doing Ibogaine, folks. We can't afford it. Maybe reach out to some of the Ibogaine clinics directly down in Mexico who have grants, full grants or partial grants for veterans. Otherwise, join us the end of May 29 to 31 down here in South Florida for Sacred Warrior Fellowship. You can join our fellowship, our religious institution, and sit in ceremony with our sacrament and return home. Okay? All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Fights on, namaste, and basi. Whiz out.